The Pac-12 media rights deal is more than likely not going to be in place by the end of June. What does that mean for Utah? We're talking about it on today's Locked On Utes.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen every single day. We are available on all platforms, including YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Birddogs. Go to birddogs.com/lockedoncollege, and they'll throw in a free custom Birddogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. So make sure you guys head over to Birddogs to get in on the great offer from our friends at Birddogs. My name is JT Wistrcill, former intern inside the University of Utah Athletic Department. Excited to be joined by the host of Locked On Pac-12 and our expert in all things conference realignment, Spencer McLaughlin. And Spencer, barring anything shocking with about 5 days to go by the time this comes out, Utah and the Pac-12 are not going to have their media rights deal by the end of June, but we do have the situation with San Diego State playing out where they sent the letter in to inform them that they're leaving. So that, at least the June 30th deadline, has kind of been changed a little bit to potentially help the Pac-12. It's one big jumbled mess. My position hasn't changed as a Utah fan and someone who wants what's best for Utah. It's wait and see what happens with the Pac-12 media rights deal. But I do think there's a lot of people who are going to look at it like, oh, as we've talked about too, this is supposed to be done by June and it continues to drag on, and it's going to drag on a little bit longer, as we know for sure. There's going to be a lot of people get nervous. I'm still in the camp of do not panic, wait and figure it all out. What do you think is just the whole situation, the crazy week it's been since San Diego State and everything that's happened with them?
How best to answer that question? I think first and foremost, anybody's guess on when the deal gets done is as good as mine, is as good as yours, as good as the next random YouTube commenter who wants to spar with somebody about.
There's a lot of them.
Oh, you noticed that too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I've seen more than a few people who are big time experts pop up in the YouTube comment section. I believe, based on the caliber of comment information that I see sometimes, I actually have media rights executives who watch my show and come into the comment section. It's fascinating. Frankly, the size of Locked On Pac-12. If you're not subscribed already, you're clearly missing out on the most informed debate of your life. But I think that the way that this is going, it just doesn't seem like the Pac-12 is either in a hurry or there is something. This is what I really keep coming back to. There is something about this deal that nobody knows what it is for sure. You can guess about which 7 things it is. There is something that is complicating this deal and has been for a long time. And maybe by the time the show comes out, the deal comes out, though I doubt it. There is something that is making this so intrinsically complex that it's causing it to go on this long. Because the presidents have indicated, and athletic directors have indicated before, hey, this is going to be done in a few weeks. We're in the final stages. I've stopped listening to all that garbage and such, because they clearly don't know. Nobody clearly knows. But the logical next question, which is always my instinct as a broadcaster, is what in the world is the holdup? And it could only be like 12 different things. It could be the economy being in somewhat of a downturn. Media companies might not want to announce this stuff at a certain time. Remember, the Big 12, it did not negotiate a new deal. They extended their previous deal just with new teams and different dollar figures. That was back in October, okay? Inflation in the economic standing, as I understand it, is not in as strong of a place now as it was then. And so the optics for media companies announcing a deal like this, which is going to be a tens of millions or hundreds of millions dollar commitment per year over many years, they might not like the optics of that because they've got shareholders to think about and they have a lot of interested parties on that front. That could be a part of it. I'm not saying that is, I'm saying that's an option. San Diego State and SMU representing media markets that are valuable to the Pac-12 and network executives could be shifting the numbers around. There could be different valuations and disagreements about what they are actually worth. The Pac-12 has had disagreements about numbers and television ratings with media executives before. That's how we got into this Comcast overpayment mess, which is another component of all of this. Can the Pac-12, stomach this deal or that deal with the money they won't be getting from Comcast in the future because of the overpayments in the past? How complex are the details? How hard is it to incorporate a new media partner like Apple? This is the stuff we don't know. We don't know. And eventually, when this deal comes out, I hope someone does some honest to God reporting of this is what took so long, and we get an explanation. And by we, I mean me. I would really like an explanation because I've been talking about this for 6 bleeping months, man. Like, I didn't think it could go on this long. And yet here we are. And at some point, and look, I accepted that we weren't going to know. I accepted that a long, long time ago. I'm like, just give it to me whenever you feel like it. I don't care at this point. I'm done having a vested interest in all that sort of stuff. But there has to be a reason. Mm-hmm. Whether that's coming from the media executives, whether that's coming from schools, whether that's because there's an expansion move we don't see coming for the Pac-12 and they're actually going to 14 teams or something like that, whether it's from whoever is involved, someone or something is driving this, and we just don't know what. And one day, I hope and pray to God we find out.
You're like Charlie Day from It's Sunny in Philadelphia with the board and everything connecting everywhere. And you're like, no, this is...
Let me tell you, man.
Yeah.
Inflation peaked in the middle of June.
Yeah.
They knew it was coming, and they just didn't want to announce it.
But I mean, this is where we're at. I mean, like you said, there are
we've been driven to insanity. That's
we have been. Okay, I mean, there's so many different factors for everyone who says, like, I mean, we've lost track of how many times a reporter's been like, this is going to happen here. It doesn't happen. And it's the same thing with, like you said, the Pac-12 presidents too. They'll be like, we're close. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah, fool me once.
We're close. It's like, what? It's just such an interesting situation in general.
Like when the Washington State agenda item was out publicly on the docket of grant President Schultz authority to delegate matters pertaining to the school's media rights. In Pac-12 circles, that generated a lot of buzz of like, oh my gosh, this is the moment. And I came on my show that day and I said, guys and gals, just chill.
Yep.
Because what indication do we have that anything means we should start getting our hopes up? It's just not worth it. You just got to accept we're never going to know when this thing comes out, and then one day we'll wake up and it'll be like the Live Golf merger.
Oh my
and you're
gosh.
just going to wake up, you're going to check the news, and you're going to be like, whoa, look at that. That actually happened. I was beginning to think it was never going to happen, and one day it will. I don't know when, and I don't wake up thinking about it. I wake up thinking about 2 things. What am I going to talk about on my shows, and when am I playing golf? That's it.
And what time
I'm done waiting.
And Jeopardy, what time you watch?
Yes, and when am I going to watch Jeopardy? That is 100% correct. Those are the 3 things that I think about every day. And months ago, I stopped thinking every day about when is the Pac-12 media deal going to get announced? Mm-hmm. And guess what? I am better for it.
Yeah, there's all those gifts of things like me if I stopped caring about what people said. For us, it's like me if I stopped worrying about the Pac-12 media rights. So that is the position we are at this moment. And we're going to continue to talk about this a little bit more in a moment, as well as some of the bigger questions about which the best program in the Pac-12, better coach Lincoln Riley or Coach Whitt. We're going to talk about a lot of that stuff in a moment. But first, we got to talk to you a little bit more about our friends at Birddogs. When you guys are talking about Birddogs, you're getting an outstanding product that is always going to be reliable and there for you. Birddogs stretchy khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. Birddogs shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they fit way better. They fit way better because better than regular shorts, I should say, because regular shorts are made of a stiff, restricting cotton. Birddogs fixed the issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khakis, but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. Birddogs use anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Guys, I wear Birddogs to record this podcast, going on a walk with friends, or just taking my dog for a walk, going and hanging out with friends, even combining it, whatever it is. Birddogs have become my short of choice, and now they can become your short of choice as well, because you can go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege for a free Yeti-style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege for a free Yeti-style tumbler. You won't want to take your bird dogs off, we promise you. Spencer, coming back into this, before we dive into Lincoln Riley versus Coach Whitt, I do want to bring up one more thing about the media rights. Actually, just to say two more things. I do want to give you props because you just mentioned about how we don't know things are going on. You were on this show, I believe it was 2 weeks ago at this time now, or even 3. It's like I said, it's starting to blur together because we don't know the dates, talking about how, hey, Colorado's going to stay. There's nothing that's going to happen over the next weeks, when it seemed like there was a week period where everyone's kind of losing their minds over Colorado and everything going on there. So I do want to give you credit there. And the other thing I'm just curious to get your thoughts on a little bit more is, look, I still feel like San Diego State is going to end up in the Pac-12, but the timeline of this and just the way they messaged the letter and everything, it's just really interesting how it's all playing out. So what do you think about San Diego State, and when should Pac-12 fans, if San Diego State is going to come, expect that, or does it hinge on the media rights stuff more?
It's the perfect microcosm to summarize this entire Pac-12 media rights saga, which is there's a very clear and tangible path and logical reason for San Diego State to join the Pac-12. And then they made their intentions clear. And we know that the intentions have been to get a media deal for a long time. And San Diego State's intention is to join the Pac-12. But somehow, it's frankly a poetic potential entrance for San Diego State into the Pac-12, where they have seemingly stepped on the old cartoon rake and it has whacked them in the face. Because they went to the Mountain West and said, this is what we want to do. And the Mountain West said, you suck. We don't want you to do that. We're not giving you anything that you want. And San Diego State said, well, we didn't actually officially say we're gonna do this. And the Mountain West said, too bad, San Diego State. You did say you're going to do this, and we are treating it as such. So it leaves them in this state of limbo. Mm-hmm. And that, frankly, is a poetic entrance into the Pac-12. Just like all the potential in the world, and just, I don't know if you call it incompetence, clumsiness, unfortunate timing, factors playing against you. You call it whatever you want. The Pac-12 has had all of that time and time again over the years. And here's San Diego State saying, we want to leave. And the Mountain West says, okay, you're allowed to do that. You got to pay us a bunch of money. And San Diego State's like, well, due to factors outside of our control, we would like to extend this June 30th deadline so that we don't have to pay an extra $17 million. And the Mountain West went full Captain Barbosa here and said, we are disinclined to acquiesce to your request. So, too bad. And then San Diego State said, well, we never formally declared that we were leaving. And the Mountain West said, no, you basically went and got a divorce lawyer. We cannot fix this. We cannot kiss and make up here. This is done. So, chaos, uncertainty, and sloppiness, and most of all, what is more Pac-12, JT, than bad optics? Is there anything in the world I say every morning on my show, as long as we haven't had a media deal, your number one source to stay up to date with our media rights free and beloved Conference of Champions. You know another banner or trophy? You know what I need to hang up on this banner, like above that banner in the space right there for everyone to see? The Conference of Bad Optics. Because we're so good at that. We're as good at bad optics as the SEC is at winning national championships. We're ridiculously good at that sort of stuff. Misinformation campaign out there flying around on YouTube and Twitter about, schools going to the Big 12 and they have a high level of interest and whatnot. Pac-12, whatever. It's just bad optics. USC and UCLA leaving, bad reality and bad optics. Oregon to Washington lobbying the Big Ten and, kind of wanting to go. Bad optics. Not bad reality, but bad optics. Everybody thinks Pac-12 football stinks. It doesn't. But bad optics. It's just like
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how good we are at this stuff. So take that, Big Ten and SEC. You may have these big fancy media deals, but we do bad optics better than you. And as we've learned in politics over the last several years, I won't name names. There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah. That is a great point. And to your point as well, just all the reasons you listed, it really is why San Diego State and the Pac-12 are perfect for each other, and why I feel like this is eventually going to end up with
Cheers to that.
With them there.
I'm not actually drinking. This is water.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. For everyone listening, Spencer just took a drink. That's what that was. But it is kind of the point we're at with this. But let's shift off some media rights stuff, shall we? And talk.
Yeah,
about,
I think we need to avoid
stuff.
media rights talks late at night. I just get in a mood, man.
That's a good point.
It's just a different kind of vibe.
I
Could
think,
all be irrelevant by the time the show comes out.
You never know. That's what makes everything so crazy. One thing that won't be irrelevant, though, Spencer, is who is the best football coach in the Pac-12. And as you can see here, the Locked On Network, for those of you listening, voted on who the top 5, actually we did football programs, my mistake first, the top 5 coaches are in the Pac-12. And they had Lincoln Riley 1, Kyle Whittingham 2, Kalen DeBoer 3, Jonathan Smith 4, and Chip Kelly 5. My initial reaction is, I'm not mad at this at all. I think a lot of Utah fans would look at it like Kyle Whittingham beat Lincoln Riley twice last season. And yeah, that's true, but we don't look at things in a one-year vacuum. I more so look at it like this. Look, is there an argument maybe like, hey, if Kyle Whittingham was at a USC or an Oklahoma, he would have gotten them to a college football playoff? Sure, he might have. Maybe he's done a great job at Utah. But man, I just feel like because Lincoln Riley has gotten his teams to that point year in and year out, they have consistently been at a higher level. And yes, I know the recruiting atmospheres and where they are in the programs and the level they have always been at versus where Kyle has taken Utah is something that Lincoln hasn't. I mean, I was going to say hasn't done, but then again, he did elevate like USC back to relevancy in his very first year, Spencer, which he does deserve a lot of credit for that too. So to me,
it's also USC.
Exactly. So to me, it's
not like he elevated Colorado here.
Yeah. Hey, give Deion some time. He might make his way on this list as well. But I'm not mad at this. In fact, if I was doing it, I might have Lincoln 1 as well, because I just think as an offensive mind, he is one of the best in college football. And both these, either way, 1 or 2, I don't have an issue with either way. It was ranked. What is your thoughts on this?
No, I don't have an issue with it either, because Lincoln Riley's had a high level of success winning or at least getting 2 conference championships at 2 different schools.
Yeah.
Generating Heisman Trophy winners 3 different times.
Yes.
And he's done that at 2 different institutions. Now, it's not as if he's, again, doing this at, Colorado and Virginia football, exactly, non-traditional powers, but still, he is a brilliant offensive mind. He is a great coach. He is a good recruiter, has recruited well at Oklahoma and at USC.
Look at Oklahoma without him last year.
A complete and utter mess. And that is a fantastic point to make, is he leaves and in 1 year, players want to go with him, not stay with the brand of Oklahoma. And look, that's not true, across the board. When Mario Cristobal left Oregon, some players went with him, but a lot of guys stayed. I mean, the entire offensive line that he built, his specialty, his baby, they all stayed. Right? Alex Forsyth and TJ Bass and Big Sala and Stephen Jones and Jack Spowers Johnson. They were all recruited by Mario Cristobal, Alex Mirabal. They stayed at Oregon. That doesn't mean Mario's a bad coach. It just means that when you are taking players with you, that is a sign of being a very attractive coach for certain players at the very least. And Lincoln Riley is an excellent coach. And I understand that, Whitt beat him twice in 2022. I also watched Matt Campbell beat Lincoln Riley in a season.
Yeah.
Does anyone think Matt Campbell's better than Lincoln Riley? No, he was better than him on that day. Yes. But if you're evaluating who's the better coach, you have to evaluate the entire body of work. And you can't deny what Kyle Whittingham has done at Utah. No one's sitting here saying like, oh, Whitt should be number 5 because he's never been to the playoff. Like, no, that's not. No, absolutely, positively not. He's only had, 2 losing seasons since joining the Pac-12 from the Mountain West. Like, all he has done is win at a program that, was coming up from the G5 level, does not have an insane recruiting base, not in a huge media market, not the most money in the conference compared to some other schools.
Compared to USC.
Compared to a place like USC. And all he's done is win all the time. But Lincoln Riley's doing this stuff at a high level, year in and year out. And so is Kyle Whittingham. But yeah, if you had to give me any coach to start my program with, I think that's the best way to look at it. If you could take any coach to start a program with anywhere, who are you going with? I'm taking Lincoln Riley, right? And Kyle Whittingham is very high in that list. But I'm taking Lincoln Riley number 1 because his offensive, I love watching like USC highlights or game reruns or whatnot. or even from his time at Oklahoma, his offensive play design is so good.
Unbelievable. I'm
It's
not allowed to say that, but he's a very good coach. I'm not allowed
yeah,
to say
I know. You're not allowed to say it. That's why you bring me on. I'm allowed
Exactly.
to say it. I'm like for example, one that pops in my mind. I think Joel Klatt was breaking this down on his show a while back, and Klatt's excellent. Is the touchdown on it was like 3rd and 11, I think, in the game in Salt Lake City, and I think I can talk about that here on the show because you guys won, which was awesome. But he had trips to the wide side, and I think he called an audible. Either he or Caleb called an audible, and they went to a tunnel screen against cover 0, right? And for those who don't know, cover 0 means you're blitzing at least 6, probably 7 guys, unless you have 5 receivers in the formation. But you're playing man-to-man on every eligible receiver, and everybody else is blitzing. You have no safety help over the top. So they were sitting soft in cover 0, and they checked to a tunnel screen, and they ended up running for a touchdown. But he added this little wrinkle that I'd never seen before. And this is the sort of stuff that, like, I, as a football guy, just completely and utterly geek out over. That, it's pretty typical to have, 3 guys out wide and 2 guys go block and 1 guy cuts in and such. But he had the slot drag across the formation, then the inside guy came out to block to create more space and clear out the nickel corner. And then the outside receiver came in for the screen, and then he had an angle and some momentum to attack that defender. He missed the tackle and then went on for a touchdown. Like, he comes up with little stuff like that. His play design in the red zone, his play design, in the middle of the field especially, is really, really good. And you see a lot of teams copying the concepts that he runs from time to time because he's really, really smart in that sense. So I think when you have a coach who's had as much success as he has had, who's as innovative as he is, who's able to acquire talent now via the portal and the high school ranks the way that he is, when you have a player like Dorian Singer at Arizona, and I'm sure money was a part of it too, but he wouldn't be going to USC if he didn't think, yeah, I can go there and succeed because I want to be a part of that offense. Like, he has made USC a destination more than they were before, and it's because of him.
Yeah, who wouldn't have in Singer's position not go to USC there? I mean, look at it like you have a chance to win the Pac-12.
Yeah, I mean, depends on what your priorities are.
Yeah, you're right, but
he's like the 4th receiver on that team.
You think so? Singer is?
He's at
Rice, Williams. Won't he be the top 3?
I think there's one more in there.
He could be
3rd.
On, but
I thought they brought.
I'll let you sit on and think on that for a moment. Just to say really quickly, once again, this hurts me to say, but especially when, to your point of building a program, with Whitt, you're getting defense. With Riley, you're getting offense. There is no defense for the perfect throw.
They also have Mekhi Lemon, a high 4-star receiver, and Zach Branch, a 5-star receiver, coming in as true freshmen this year. I thought they brought in a transfer receiver.
It'll be an interesting battle to see how it plays out.
No, Singer was the only transfer receiver. Like, he probably played, but again, not going to be the number 1 guy. So, would you rather be the number 3 or 4 receiver on a team that can win a Pac-12 championship, or would you rather be a number 2 receiver? Yeah. Which he would be, I think.
Are you sure he's better? This is termed into Locked On USC. We should go on Mark's show. But are you sure that Singer? Are you sure he might be better than Williams and Rice this year? I'm not ruling that out.
I mean, he's very good.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
I'll be interested to see how it plays out. Yeah. I've talked to Mark recently, and Singer was like 3rd or 4th on the list.
He was okay.
At least in his view. Maybe that ends up being different, but. Like, if I were Singer and I wanted to make it to the NFL, I would have gone somewhere. Like honestly, I would have either stayed at Arizona or gone to a place like Washington State where I'm going to throw the ball. I have an NFL quarterback, and I can be the number 1 guy and put up big time numbers.
It's a good point. It's kind of that interesting thing.
I think you can get
numbers or having a chance to win. That's where
USC throws the ball a lot, but they have a lot of talented receivers, and you can get hidden there. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Dorian Singer was 2nd team All Pac-12 this year. Pretty sure he led the conference in receiving yards, I think. I will be surprised if that happens again.
Well, everyone thought Jordan Addison was going to lead the conference in receiving yards, to your point. instead
Yeah,
of
he got
Dorian
hurt,
Singer.
or he probably
Well,
would have.
yeah, might have, but like you said too, but there's also a lot of mouths to feed in that offense as well. I think that also played
Yeah, there are.
into it once he got back. But either way, and the point I was just going to finish up is, look, if you're starting a program, there's no defense for the perfect offense. Consistently, Lincoln Riley brings in the quarterback who can make that perfect throw, and it's still the most important position on the field. I would roll with Lincoln in that scenario as well. But in general, we're talking about USC and Utah, two of the top football programs in the Pac-12, and they were ranked by everyone at the Locked On Network. Now, this is
Nice transition there. That was good. That was smooth. Pro stuff right there.
I appreciate it. This is one of the interesting things about this list, Spencer, that we're looking at. And for those of you who are listening to this, it is the top 5 football programs as voted on by Locked On hosts. I missed the vote, I will say before, so don't get mad at me for Utah being 4th. USC 1, Washington 2, Oregon 3, Utah 4, Oregon State 5. Now, Spencer, the interesting thing we don't have here is is this all time? Is this now? Like,
took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, how do you kind of value it like that? If it's in terms of right now, look, I understand like when a USC, a Washington, and an Oregon are clicking at full speed and on all cylinders, they are at a higher level historically versus a Utah. But Utah has won the last 2 Pac-12 championships. They're bringing everyone back once again. Look, they got a tough schedule. They might not get there again, but they're going to continue to be competitive and right there. To me, I feel like Utah, especially if, once again, we're just going right now and off of recent stuff. And I understand if they're, like you said, conference realignment, all of that, Washington and Oregon are getting asked to go places than Utah. But if we're evaluating the football programs themselves right now, to me, Utah honestly should be at number 1 just based on the recent stuff. And at the bare minimum, they got to be above Washington. And I still have them above USC just because they just beat USC. If we're talking about the football programs right now, I understand that USC might pass Utah this coming season, but that's all projections and stuff. We're talking about right now. I think Utah should be at the top of this list with an Oregon at 2 for recent stuff.
I enjoy lists because they can make for interesting content. I do not like the premise of this list because there is no premise of the list.
Yeah.
Top 5 football programs, what, all time? 5 years? 10 years? These are different questions.
Yes, absolutely.
These are completely different questions, right? And you can't just talk about 1 year because then it'd be, which team had the best season in 2022? Well, that answer is probably Utah or Washington, who finished with the most wins. Along with USC, but USC lost their bowl game. Washington won, but Utah lost their bowl game. But they won, right? Like that's a debate. I don't know that it's a particularly interesting one, but it's at least a debate. You put up something like this, and you say like, "Oh, top 5 football programs." You have to give me a time frame.
Yeah,
because in the last 5 years, it's Utah, and no, there is not a close second. There is not. I'm going to say this really clearly and into the mic. There's not a close second. Nobody else over the last 5 seasons has played in every Pac-12 championship game except the COVID year. And what the hell even was that? Nobody's done that. So, whatever people like I saw this and I need a time frame. Like I need a time frame because if it's 5 years, it's Utah. If you go 10 years, you're probably looking at Oregon. If you're going 15 years, you're also probably looking at Oregon. If you go 20 years, you're now looking at USC because you're going to put their national championships into that window. It completely changes. Like, if you went 15 years, Stanford would be on the list.
Yeah.
They've won the Pac-12 3 times, I'm pretty sure.
I think you're right.
Oh, yeah, Oregon's won it 4. Stanford's won it 3. Washington's won it 2. Utah's now won it 2. And then somebody else has
USC's
1.
USC's got a decent amount. I think somewhere in there too.
No, USC has 1.
Oh, they only have 1. Gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, they only have 1. That's what I'm saying. Like, USC is not the best program in the Pac-12 unless you're saying, well, last 20 years. Oh, okay, then they're the only one with a national championship. Yeah. But if you then just start narrowing the window, you're shifting the parameter, you're shifting the discussion entirely. So I object to the lack of premise of that particular list.
Mm-hmm. And we'll have to take it up with our bosses then, since since they're the ones that create it. Usually, we're mad at someone else's list, and it's like, oh wait, this is our own network, so we'll have to. That's where we'll have to.
Yeah,
get to the
I might be getting a strongly worded text from our boss Zach or from somebody at the network, like, hey, don't hate on it so much. Like, I'm providing feedback here. That is not a good top 5 coaches. I think that's a bit easier, but top 5 programs over. Give me a time frame.
Well, those negative comments are going to be offset by all the Utah fans. Like, JT, why is Spencer more of a Utah guy than you are? And you're the host of Locked On Utes. And I'm going to be like, I know. I feel like I'm trying to be a realist.
At this point, like, my Oregon fandom is just slowly becoming secondary. Not actually, but it's becoming secondary.
I'm saving that audio clip.
To my my San Diego State, SMU, and Utah fandom. I mean, those are apparent in the eyes of many. Those might be my three
right
teams.
there are huge to the action. Like, just be serious. Like, those three, if let's say SMU does come up, like, that's huge to the future of the Pac-12, which
Correct.
you do host Locked On Pac-12. So if all three
Correct.
of those programs are doing well, we're going to continue to have a Locked On Pac-12.
Oh, I mean, I'm just like, I'm so all in. You know my dream scenarios. Nobody asked for this next statement. You're gonna get it anyway. It's the end of the show, and it's late. And it's late at night, so that's what you're stuck with. At least when we're
remind everyone, it was water earlier.
Yeah, it was. This is just me, completely unfiltered, off the cuff. My dream scenario is the Pac-12 finishes their media deal. It's in range, or even like if it were to surpass the Big 12, I'd be the most obnoxious human being on planet Earth. I would never let anyone hear the end of that. But I don't think that's likely, so I'm not getting my hopes up there. But finish the media deal, keep the conference together. San Diego State and SMU come in, and then in 2024, one of those schools plays in the Pac-12 championship game.
Oh my gosh!
If that happens in their first season, I don't know who would be more likely. You kind of got to see how everything plays out. But
I might say
if that were to happen somehow, let me tell you, the obnoxiousness. If you think I was in a zone or on a vibe tonight, at that time, if you give me that scenario, I will be intolerable. I will be intolerable to everybody except the fans of the team who make that championship game.
And you will be the people's champions in that situation.
I would be the people's champion.
Hey, and obviously I want Utah to be in the Pac-12 championship game, but I always think parity is a great thing. So if it is a San Diego State and SMU in the short term, in a couple of years, I think that would be great for the conference overall. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. If you guys want more conference realignment or just more Pac-12 love.
Oh no, that'd be terrible for the conference. I'm saying it'd be great for me.
That's true. You're right. You're right.
They don't want them in the conference championship.
Going back to your point on bad optics, if the team that just joined from the Mountain West made in their very
that'd be terrible.
That is really bad optics. To your point.
That'd be terrible.
I will rescind the statement.
But like that is not what the conference would.
Yes.
Like the conference wants Oregon and Washington or Oregon and Utah to play in the conference championship game for the first few years, and then eventually have San Diego State and SMU get
kind of
in
like
if they get in there if they get in there in the first season, we'll be tripling down on the conference of bad optics.
Yeah.
That should be my new tagline at the start of each podcast. Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
Go. And if you guys want more of Locked On Pac-12, make sure you guys head over. Or I'm backwards and things this more. If you want more Spencer, make sure you guys head over and check out Locked On Pac-12. That is going to do it for this edition of Locked On Utes. Spencer, appreciate you for joining us.
Yeah, anytime. If you want more of this, you all know where to find me.
And if you guys want more Utah content, make sure you stay right here. And we appreciate you for making us your first listen every single day. And we'll see you tomorrow.